Hi, everybody. Mayor Lou Manzo here on the heels of a Memorial Day weekend, and hope you're all doing well, enjoying this transition to the spring season. I wanted to touch base with you briefly on a couple of things. First of all, give you an overview on our municipal budget that we passed a couple of weeks ago, give you some insight into that, and then also touch on a couple of events that are coming up in June, some great new events and some old standards that I want to make sure you're aware of. So I'm going to share my screen with you to give you some guidelines on what happened with our budget this year. I know that many times people cannot attend our meetings. We understand that. That being said, we also want to make sure that we convey what's happening as best we can, and sometimes it's these type of presentations that do that. So this is a kind of quick version of the PowerPoint presentation that we presented on May the 6th when we adopted our budget. Quick overview always, you see the breakdown of where our money or where your money goes. And it's better to look at it from a pie chart perspective. You know, the blue and the green are the school systems, take up a little more than half of our tax dollars. We're that yellow wedge, 17 cents of every dollar pays for your local municipal budget. 25%, the gray goes to the county, and then some to the fire district and so forth. So um, what your local taxpayer dollars pay for with that 17 cents that we use of each dollar, what you would imagine, all the services that we provide, police and public safety, public works, all the park maintenances, general municipal services, meaning all the departments in the building, whether it be the tax office or the recreation office or the construction office, trash and recycling collection and disposal, curbside bulk and metal, electronic pickups. You know, we're one of only two towns in the entire county that has a weekly bulk pickup. Bulk pickup is anything that you can't get into your black cart that's regular trash. Um, when you're given trash day every Wednesday, there is a bulk pickup for that overflow of trash, or then bigger items that can't fit in that cart. You know, it can be even furniture and so forth. Yard waste program pickup, recreation facilities, and upkeep of all of our parks, the various boards and commissions that cost some money. Our capital improvement projects, which are anything that we build, big projects in the past, like maybe the police station, public works building. Smaller things are always improvements to our public parks. Right now, the things that will happen this year are the long-awaited dog park and pickleball courts will be constructed this year. And then obviously at the bottom of that list, all of our employees that execute these fine services for everyone and everything associated with the cost of employees, be it pensions and benefits, and then clearly debt service costs, meaning paying off dollars that we borrow to say build a public works or police station. All of that is in what you pay in your tax dollars, and that 17 cents of each dollar goes to the municipal services. The challenges are always the same. We have to live within a 2% cap. I'm not going to, get into how that works because some stuff is in the cap, something is not in the cap. It's never really just a 2% limit, but we do have to live within those limitations, even though costs increase at a higher rate than 2%. The recent challenges are the things that you would imagine that we all experience as individuals. Basic supply cost increases, material cost increases, all the services cost more, fuels cost more. In the middle of that list, we touch on it later, a commercial versus residential rateable cost, meaning what it cost us, the town, to provide services to residents versus commercial properties. And we're going to touch on that later. The rising cost of employee benefits, which is always out of control. In 2023, we had a 23% increase on our benefit costs, which is already close to a $1 million line item in our budget. So it's, very difficult difficult challenge to address. You're dealing with that type of increase. The fluctuating costs of trash and recycling and disposal, rising employment costs, meaning the public versus private sector. We have to pay a little bit more to get people to work in the public sector now because of the comparison to the private sector. And then just overall, insufficient commercial rateable revenue. When you don't have revenue coming from designated areas in your zoning map that have been designed to produce commercial ratables, which again, we'll touch on the importance of that later, that's always a challenge. Okay, what you should know about this budget this year, the 2024 budget, $14,676,306 compared to just over 14 million last year. It's a 590,000 and change dollar increase, which represents a true dollar value increase, 4.2% increase. Again, it's never just the 2% because a lot of our increases are outside of the cap. Um, Other things that you should know is our municipal departments are maintaining lower than really required staffing levels, and that includes our public works departments, our police, um, our wastewater treatment facility, and our clerk's office. Public works and our PD were granted minimal staff increases. Um, in the public works department, they are hiring one additional person, and in the PD, they hired an additional full-time officer and three what are called Class 2 special law enforcement Class 2 officers. Three of those, which again we'll touch on in a minute. Um, Obviously, the other things that you should be aware of are the cost of utilities and fuels and other supplies obviously increase. And this year, as we had been for many recent years, have a minimalized capital plan, meaning things that we're building. We have to buy certain new vehicles by statute, replace police vehicles and so forth, but we're doing that on the minimal side. Um, we do have a focus in this year's budget, if I was going to say, on anything on public safety. We all know that we're dealing with kind of a rash of crime in our region, especially when it comes to car thefts. Recently, that has morphed into even break-ins in our homes. This is all something that we are aware of. We are focused on it. The car theft rings, both in North Jersey and Delaware, are the focus of a joint task force that includes our local police officers, regional law enforcement, statewide law enforcement, even federal assistance. And it's something that they're working very diligently on addressing. Um, that said, we wanted to take steps this year um, because we know we're a target. And so that includes the hiring of a Class 1 and 3 Class 2 officers this year. We're coming, in 2024. The difference between a Class 1 and Class 2 officer is that basically Class 2s are limited to their hours, so they're part-time. They're usually working, 20 some odd hours a week as opposed to a full week. And we do not pay them benefits, and we do not, the pension contribution is minimal. Again, this is transitioning to full-time employment at some point, and they do not carry firearms, but they are um, uniforms on the street, uniforms in cars, and that increases our capability to patrol, our home court, if you will. That brings our PD staff total to 30 officers, which is the most ever in Harrison Township. That's 27 Class 1 and Class 2 officers that are on the street, and three Class 3 officers, which are the school resource officers that only work in the schools. The other thing that we want you to be aware of is we're implementing the Verkada security camera system townwide. I'm going to be telling you more about this in the future, but long story short, our police leadership, chief and command staff, came to us more than 2 years ago and introduced this camera system as an option. And it's something that we wanted to kind of step back and take a look at. And fortunately for us, at that time, East Greenwich was stepping forward to be the first town in Gloucester County to implement this system. We've now had the benefit of seeing that system in action, and our PD leadership in close relationship with East Greenwich, monitoring what that is, to the point where in January of this year, we took a tour. I was able to go over and tour around the entire, call it, main setup as far as inside their four walls, and see what the camera system is able to provide. And so we are stepping forward this year to be the second town in Gloucester County to implement this Verkada camera system. It will be cameras in all of our public places, meaning our public buildings, inside and out, our public parks, and there will be strategically placed cameras throughout town, whether they be on top of buildings or light poles or street lights or traffic lights, to be able to monitor the comings and goings of vehicles and individuals on an ongoing basis. And more importantly, that's going to help an investigative scenarios where there is something that occurs in a certain area. We know the time. You're going to be able to see, based on camera triangulation videos, whether or not you can see who entered and who, came through that area in a given time. This will not be a camera system that can um, issue tickets or monitor anything other than the traveling back and forth of vehicles. So again, we're going to talk to you more about this, but we wanted you to be aware that this is something that's going to be implemented this year, and we think it's going to go a big way, in a big way to help deter some of, especially the targeted car thefts and home break-ins, because this will be something that we will publicize in a very big way once it's in place, that we are a Verkada protected town, and that, if you're a bad guy, you might want to think about going somewhere else rather than coming to Harrison Township. So again, we get to now the important thing, which is the numbers and the impact on the 2024 tax rate. It represents a 3.3-cent increase per $100 of assessed value. So that means that, right now we're at 56 cents of your tax rate goes to local municipal government. That'll go to 59.3. The average price home is just under $350,000. That means in 2023, they paid $1,950 in change for the local tax services or tax rate. This year now they will pay $2,065, an increase of almost $115, or $9.58 per month for the average priced home. Yes, that means if you have a $700,000 house, you're looking at more like a $19.60 increase per month, almost $20 per month. That will place us as still the fifth lowest tax rate in the county of the 24 towns. Putting that in perspective, the average home, as we said, is just under $350,000, pays $2,065 in taxes. That equates to $172 in change per month for all the municipal services we provide and the costs associated with that. Again, reiterating all of them listed here, public works and public safety and all of the different services that we provide. The important thing here that we want to illustrate to you is the importance of understanding the difference between commercial ratables and taxes versus residential. So the cost to provide each individual residential property with the services that we've touched on is about $3,000 annually per house. You break down our budget costs divided by those, number of residences, and so it's costing us about $3,000 for every single house in the town. Commercial properties, on the other hand, it hardly costs us anything if you really think about it. They draw on our police and fire services if there is a police or fire incident in their property, but they are not drawing on all these other services. They're not using our general municipal services and coming into our offices and putting a burden on there. They're not using any of our trash and recycling. They have their own that they're paying for. They're not using our parks, obviously, or anything like that. So that's why a commercial tax dollar is worth so much more in our budget than a residential tax dollar. So if you look at this, if we collect about $2,000 on the average from every house, yet it cost us $3,000, the math is simple. We're at the short end of that stick. Considering that 17% of the municipal portion of your tax bill goes to us, that break even point, if you do the math, $3,000 we have to, for the local budget, we have to have a $540,000 home where 17% of that tax payment is going to cover the $3,000. There again, you see the problem with the math. $540,000 is break even. Our average priced home, which is the highest in Gloucester County, is just under $350,000. Hence the importance of commercial tax revenue, which is something we have talked about over time. Again, you don't get to ask questions because we're just on video here, but I wanted to give you that overview. The next thing I want to touch on are the couple of events and the great events coming up. Harrison Township Day is on June 1st this year, and the big news is that it's back in the park, Ella Harris Park, with all of bigger and better than ever, and all the great components of Harrison Township Day. It's from 4 to 9 p.m. more evening oriented, late afternoon, ending at 9 o'clock-ish with the fireworks display, which is spectacular. Go and, to our website and look at all of the things that are happening. The addition this year of a beer garden in the area and all of the traditional things that we're used to. The other added kickoff to the weekend that is going to be special is something called Sip, Savor, and Social on Main. It's the night before Harrison Township Day. It's this Friday night, the 31st, from 4 to 9 p.m. And it's on the street. The street isn't closed, so you'll stroll it with cars still, going up and down, with culinary delights and beverages and so forth. Lots of libations, Swedesboro Brewing Company, all these little pockets of places where you can, nooks and crannies of food and drink. Independent Spirits Distillery will be there. DeBella Winery, the Big Swig, the tasting room will have a wine tasting. All sorts of culinary delights, as I said, on the street, live music. So it's going to be a real kind of festival vibe. So if you're around on Friday night, make sure you hit the street after 4 o'clock, and then certainly on Saturday, we want to make sure that we see you at Harrison Township Day in the park. The other things that we'll talk about more, and we'll give you more information later, coming up in June, kicking off a great new series of events that'll be every second Saturday in June, July, August, and September will be the Mullica Hill Farm Market on Main Street. More information on that to come. The first of this will be of this series will be June 8th, so it's a week after Harrison Township Day. And then again, later in the month on June 22nd, Celebration on Main, where the street will be closed down on that Saturday, and a tremendous extravaganza of a car show right on Main Street with all these cool cars and lots of food and drink on the street. But again, more information on both the farm market and Celebration on Main with the car show to come after this. For now, thank you for taking the time to listen to this. If you ever have any questions on the budget or anything else, you can reach out to all of us. All of our information is posted on the website, our cell phones, and our emails. And on behalf of the other members of the Township Committee, I hope that we get to see you on Friday night up on Main Street, and certainly in the park on Saturday for Harrison Township Day. By the way, the secret that no longer is a secret is the Phillie Phanatic's going to be there. And right in the beginning, from that first hour from 4 to 5 p.m. So if the kids want to see the Phanatic, you got to get there when it starts. Looking forward to seeing you at these events this weekend. Take care.